Take any time we come together, whether it's Sunday school, worship, Awana, youth program, worship team, and listen to opinions, how they vary from sometimes the sublime to the ridiculous, or vice versa, the ridiculous to the sublime. How do we determine when it is harmonized with God's thoughts? Because God said, the way I think and the way you think, completely different. Now listen to this story and see what you think. In Matthew 1 verse 18 and 19 I read, this is how Jesus the Messiah was born. His mother Mary was engaged to be married to Joseph. But before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her fiancé, was a good man and did not want to disgrace her, that's Mary, publicly. So he decided to break the engagement quietly. You see how God arranged this thing here? If you were God, and we do act like that we are God sometimes, even though we don't say it, we do act like it, and we do think about it. But suppose you were God for 5 minutes. Would you have done what God did with Joseph and Mary as God did? Would you have done it that way? Mary was engaged to be married to Joseph. And engagement in their culture is a serious thing. But before the marriage took place, the engagement is just as binding as marriage in their eyes. While she was still a virgin before the marriage, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Why would God do a crazy thing like that? Would you have done it that way if you were God? Would you have considered doing it that way? Joseph, her fiancé, a good man. Now remember now, we're talking about the goodness according to man. A good man, and did not want to disgrace Mary publicly. He did not want to make her shame to all the people in the community. Can you imagine a gossip, a scandal? Why, did you know that Joseph and Mary are going to get married? And did you know that she's pregnant and they're not even married? Ooh, what juicy gossip. And guess what? God did it that way. Would you have done it? I probably would not have done it this way. But he said, my thoughts are nothing like yours. So be careful when we share our opinions and how we feel about things. Make sure that you don't identify God with every thought and every opinion that we have. If I'm going to say, God told me, I better be sure. Shouldn't we? Shouldn't we be dead sure? Because this one here, I would rate it a C. I would not have done it that way. But God is God, and he did it. Joseph was a good man. His thoughts were good. He was considerate of Mary and wanted to save embarrassment. Let's just cancel the thing quietly and break the engagement. in Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. You're very familiar with those verses. Trust in the Lord. Do not depend on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord. Do not depend on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord. But where do we get our understanding? Where do we get our opinions except our own? So trust in the Lord. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. And that path may look very ridiculous. That path may look very stupid. And you know, the Bible is full of those. Was it Gideon? The battle of, no, Joshua, the battle of Jericho. Gideon was the one that whittled his army down to 300. Now, who would do a stupid thing like that? Only God would do a stupid thing like that. There's a man named Tuisuma. He lives in Whangalii, Samoa. We decided to start work in Samoa in 1979. We made contact with one of our relatives, who at the time was the interim pastor of another church, another denomination. And he said, bring the church. We'll receive the church in Samoa, Western Samoa at the time. And so we went. There was a good chance that this interim pastor would be called to be the next pastor of the church. So he said, you can come and stay at my house, but I cannot be seen with you because there's a chance that I will become the next pastor. Wait to see what the village is going to do. Well, in the meantime, God has arranged another relative was not attending church. When he heard about us, they said, bring the church here. This guy, his name is Tuisuma. He was an ex-heavyweight boxer. Right now, he's the biggest drunk in the village. So we had a choice. The ex-boxer, who is a drunk of the village, or the interim pastor in the largest church in that village. Tell me, which one would you choose?